In this video we're going to be installing Unichip on a Fiat 500L. The procedure's the same on any Fiat multi-air turbo motor, at least up through the 2015 models, and of course I can't say beyond that. First thing you need to do is disconnect the negative battery terminal. That's very important. You can see I've already done it. Failure to do that first may very well cause some pressure sensor related codes, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. Once that's disconnected, you need to disconnect the factory ECU. That's very easy. We're looking at the ECU here. These are the connectors. You need to pull that tab out, lift up. Normally I'll pinch this portion here with one hand while I lift up with the other, but as I have to hold the camera, that's not really an option. This lifts up, and the connector comes off that easily. Then do the same thing on the other side. Okay, we have our Unichip module. Now I'm just going to be setting it in here because the purpose of this is to show how the connectors work. I'm going to take one Unichip connector here. Notice there's a tab here that has to pull out. I'm going to have to do this one-handed, but that's okay. The tab pulls out. This slot here is what pulls the tab all the way down and forces it to seat when you put it on. So it's important this tab comes all the way out and this hole here lines up with that slot. Once that's done, you push the connector onto the ECU, and then, hopefully we can all see this here, you push that tab all the way in. Now it's fully seated, and that's the key. I'm going to show on this other connector what I'm talking about. This is that goes on the other side of the ECU. After this tab is all the way out, when it's in, it has to go all the way in. And when it's on the ECU, pushing that all the way in actually takes more finger strength than you might think. If this tab is anything other than all the way in, like that's no good. You will probably have misfires or codes or all sorts of other things. It goes all the way in, which fully seats the connector onto the harness. Very, very important. Okay, we're making pretty good progress. Our connectors from the Unichip harness are connected there to the factory ECU, and the little tabs are fully seated. So now we need to connect the factory wiring harness to the Unichip harness. And that's pretty simple. We take the factory connector, and again, I'm doing this one-handed, so sorry about that. Shove it onto there, then fold the tab down, clicks, and secure the locking yellow tab. Now, this style of connector has the advantage of being easier to use as compared with the connectors that go from the Unichip harness to the factory ECU. But this lever is pretty fragile, so again, I want to stress it's a good idea when releasing this to kind of grip it here as you move the tab. That'll prolong the life of the little plastic tabs. That's about it. Once that's folded down, lock it in. Do the same on the other side, and then we'll move on from there. Okay, we've mounted the wiring harness. You can see it there. You can see how I routed the wires. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that's the only way to do it. I'm only going to say that that's the way I did it. Like everything automotive, some things are part art and part science, and that's just the way I personally chose to do it. Next thing is to connect the module. This is a Unichip Q+. You can tell by the number of connectors it has. We're not using all of the capability or all of the connectors of the Q+, not even close actually. There's now a Q4 which has even more capability, which is something we might talk about another day, but not today. This is the connector. You can see it there. It's protected by a weather booty here. The connector simply clips on here, make sure it's fully seated, and then slide the weather booty over the Unichip module and mount it wherever you want. In this particular case, we Velcro it to the back side of the engine cover / heat shield, but you can do other things. Then, once all that's done, and only then, can you connect the battery. Now, if the battery is ever connected with the Unichip harness connected and the Unichip module not connected, that will almost certainly generate a P0069 and P1185 code. So if you have those codes, it often relates to the order in which you connected things, and rather than go over the step-by-step order, this is the rule. This has to be disconnected before this is ever disconnected. I just can't stress the importance of that. Now, it's not a disaster if you mess that up. You can certainly reset the code. Another thing is you want to probably make sure that's disconnected for a few minutes before you unplug this. Now, there are some situations where you could unplug this, but that's getting into before you disconnect the battery, but that's getting into a technical discussion that's just not worth the time to go over right now. Just take my word for it. Don't disconnect this unless the battery's already disconnected. Thank you. So there it is. It's all hooked up. The module is literally just held onto that spot with Velcro. Nothing fancy, but it's not going anywhere. I think it looks very neat the way I've set it up. It helps that the L has a little bit of extra room. And I want to stress, the car really goes. It's really fun. It sounds better at full throttle. It pulls harder. It gets better fuel economy. It just does everything better. We're very, very happy with this tune. It's not quite as aggressive at the high end as our Stage 2 Abarth tune. Our Abarth tunes put out 195 for the Stage 1 at the wheels and about 220 at the wheels for the Stage 2. That's not to say that I'm going to get a phone call 10 minutes from now from Eurocompulsion saying we want a Stage 2.1 on the Q4 and we want 15 more horsepower, in which case we could do that. But I'm extremely happy with the way these tunes are right now. And I'm especially proud of the 500L tune. It passes the wife test, which is the most important test for this car, and it's still really, really fun to drive. Oh, and for those of you who haven't seen it, we have our HPSI/EC intake. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye-bye.